And we were muted over on Twitch. Yikes. Anyhow, episode 7, Horny Gnome Boost Cruise. What's going on? Today's been a day. It's been one of those days where I would rather just wipe it off the face of the planet. It has been rough. I don't know. I don't know where to start. I don't know where to go. So let's just go into this. It's the day after Valentine's Day. I'm just ready to settle down and not have anything crazy going on for a little while. The next holiday is St. Patrick's Day, which is a great drinking holiday. I'm sure I'll be guzzling some green beer somewhere. But other than that, we don't really have a whole lot going on as far as holidays are concerned until July. So I'm pretty excited that it's just kind of chill right now. Nothing really going on. The hype of everything is going on. We still have the Olympics going on right now, which to be honest, I haven't really watched a whole lot of. Baseball's still on a strike. I mean, there's not a whole lot going on. We did have the Super Bowl. And let's talk about the Super Bowl a little bit. Why don't we? So, people are asking me all week long, what do you got going on for the Super Bowl? Who do you like? Who do you not like? What do you got going on? And my honest answer was, if I had money, I'd put it on the Rams to win. However, I'd love to see the Bengals win. So, I'm a Chiefs fan through and through, and so I wanted to see the Bengals pull it out. I wanted to see Joe Burrow come in and just rock star and just go. And it really didn't happen. The O-line for the Bengals has been terrible all year, and they proved it again. I think he was sacked, 6 times? Something ridiculous like that. I thought he was going to spend a lot of time on his back because of Donald anyway, and it just happened. He kept getting sacked. He kept getting touches. It just was a rough time all around. Jalen Ramsey was a garbage corner, the worst corner in football on the biggest day of the year, the biggest game, and he was garbage. He got dusted by obviously the rookie of the year, but come on. The only thing the halftime show was missing is a surprise appearance by the Island Boys. That would have been funny. I think that's giving him too much. But I wouldn't have had him on there. But I thought it was good. I thought it wasn't bad. Caroline, what's up? How are you? Let's talk about the halftime show. Halftime show came out. The special appearance was 50 Cent or 75 cents if you want to talk about how big he got. I know that's a bunch of fat guys talking about how fat 50 Cent got, but he got thick. He got a little bit bigger. What are you going to say about it? But I thought he did a good job. He was a little bit out of breath doing his lyrics and stuff like that. But I thought he did okay. I wasn't a big fan of the Mary J. Blige part. I'm not a huge Mary J. Blige fan to begin with, but I thought she was really straining on some of that singing. I thought she really struggled through some of it, and it seemed like she was yelling more than singing a little bit. I don't know. Maybe she's putting a lot into it. I get that too, I suppose, but it was so-so, right? I wasn't a big fan. But Dr. Dre came out and put down solid stuff. Snoop Dogg put down what he normally puts down, little solid stuff. Eminem came out and did his thing too. I do think that they played it really, really safe. So I think that they've had a lot of controversy over the years with the Janet Jackson thing and whatever. And then I think that they've been chastised the last few years for terrible halftime performances. And so they wanted to pander to the crowd as much as possible, right? So they wanted to pander to the 30 to 45 crowd. So you bring in 90s hip-hop, right? And they did a great job with that. But they played the safest, most popular, radio popular songs. And they just played it really safe, where they really could have highlighted these artists a little bit differently and made it a better show. I thought it was short. I thought it was just really safe. I thought it was super, super safe. Which, I mean, that's the NFL anymore, right? So, it is what it is. I can't beat them up too bad about it. I feel like they did a good job, despite probably being held, with their hands behind their back as far as what they could do, what they couldn't do. I'm sure there was a laundry list of things that they couldn't do, things they couldn't say, and they did what they could and made it about, as much as possible. But it is whatever. It is whatever. The only way we're going to see Joe Burrow next year in the Super Bowl again is if he somehow miraculously gets a full O-line in the offseason. I don't see it happening, but maybe. It'd be really cool. I'd like to see him branch out. I'd like to see them win more. The Bengals have had a shitty time for a long time, and I'd like to see them win. It was nice to see Matt Stafford win after all of his years being tormented with living in and being part of Detroit as a team and stuff like that, and losing so gloriously for years and years and years. It was nice to see him win. It was nice to see OBJ possibly go out on a high note. He had a real highlight kind of career in the beginning and has some injuries, and then came from doing almost nothing with the Browns to a team that really utilized him, and he did really good things, possibly out with a really bad knee injury again. I don't know if we see him come back. You can only come back from so many injuries. So it was nice. Like I said, it was nice to see some guys get rings that have really fought hard and have been in the league for a long time and stuff like that. So I thought it was a good game. It was a little pillow fighty back and forth, and I kind of didn't expect it to get much higher as far as scores were concerned. But like I said, if I would have put money on it, I would have put it on the Rams +3. I would have gotten it. So maybe I should have, but I'm not always about that. So it is what it is. Let's get into this first beer, and then we'll talk some more. This first beer I'm going to crack into is Shiner Toasted Amber Lager. I don't have the close-ups this week. This is what you get. So this is from... It's actually from the Spoetzel spot. I'm butchering it. Spoetzel, Spoetzl, Spoetzel brewery, but they make Shiner. They make all the Shiner products in Shiner, Texas, with a population of 2,069 people. Go for 69. But not a very big town. And so they make all the Shiner beer. It's still a private brewery. It is partnered up with another brewery. We'll talk about that here in a minute, or another corporation that distributes their beer. But let's talk about this beer a little bit. So clear amber color, straight up right out the gate. Nice light amber color. I would even say like a 1 finger tall, fast falling, light tan head. I'm getting a lot of malt. Like a lot of malt. I'm not really getting a lot of hops. And as far as toasted, I'm trying to pick up like a toast or like a cracker kind of vibe. And that's definitely what I'm getting. All right, here we go. Oh, it's really light. That's actually surprisingly light. It's crisp at the end. It still has like a salty kind of almost mouthfeel at the end, to where it makes you want to keep drinking, which is really nice. It's pleasant. I would like to see more of a toasted note to it. I mean, I guess I'm kind of getting that toasted note, like a toasted cracker kind of taste to it. But I would definitely like to feel like more of a toasted note in there. Whether they add more toasted malt or kind of go, I'm not sure. I'd like to see a little bit more in there. But as far as like pandering to the masses, this is a great amber and really a great beer all around. I'm just saying, for my personal taste, what I'd like to see a little bit more of. But at the back end, there's a little bit of sweetness there. that you would get from like if you hold a cracker in your mouth for a long time, that sweetness, that glucose kind of like builds up out of it, and you taste that sweetness. That's kind of what I'm getting there, and then it's kind of just going right through there. I really like that. So let's talk real quick a little bit about this brewery, and then we'll kind of go into my next topic. So the brewery started in 1909. There was already a brewery in Shiner, Texas, but Cosmo Spotzel, I'm guessing it's Spotzel, bought that brewery in 1909 and started brewing more beer out of that. And then his signature is that he would take the bottles of beer out to farmers and leave them on the fence post, so they would take a break from farming and come over and drink a beer. And so he won like the beer crowd over, just like Bush did with making corn cans and stuff like that. Really brought in the farmer market. He did that in Shiner, Texas, and won everybody over with leaving pretty much free beer on fence posts for these guys. And then, so it kind of started there, and it kept going, but it was really local to Shiner, Texas. And then in 1970, he branched out a little bit, went to a couple of these events and stuff like that, and sold it next to Lone Star and other Texas beers, and really won people over, and it's just grown exponentially from there. So I think they're on their 6th or 7th brewmaster since then now, and they still maintain a stakehold in their company. Part of their stuff is distributed through other distributors now, and then they self-distribute around Texas, around Shiner, Texas, and that kind of thing. But it's pretty cool that they're staying mostly still family-owned and that kind of thing, as far as I know. So I want to get into this next topic. So I've kind of been struggling and trying to make my podcast, this solo podcast, as everybody knows, I do another podcast called Unlikely Role Models. That's me and my buddy, and it has its own identity. And I didn't want to make this particular podcast just about me and beer, and that's it. Like, I want it to be more of me. So I'm going to try to do some different things in the next coming weeks to try to make it my own thing and make it unique, and definitely more listenable, more watchable for you people at home. And so by doing that, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up a topic, and I'm going to bring a guest in to speak on that particular topic. So, welcome to the stage, the one, the only, from Just Be a Dad podcast, and from headshots coming your way via Whiskey Pro. Let's go for my main man, Whiskey. What's up, buddy?
What's up, man? How you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
Oh, just another day.
That's awesome. Are you hearing yourself a little bit on there?
I am.
Are you going to deal with it?
I'll try.
Okay, yeah. Well, it's only on your side, so I'm going to just deal with it because I want TikTok to be able to hear you too. So my topic that I want to talk to you about, we are both dads of the 21st century, right? We have kids that are let's start with how many kids do you have and what are their ages? Let's start there.
9.
Okay.
No, I'm kidding. I have four total. I've got my two daughters that live with their mom. They're 15 and 14. And then I have my stepson who's 13 and my stepdaughter who is 6.
Okay. So you have a similar situation to what I have. I have 2 daughters and my girlfriend has 2 daughters. My 2 daughters are 11 and 14. Her 2 daughters are 12 and 17. And then we have a granddaughter, too, on top of all that.
Sorry about the dogs in the back.
That's okay. My dogs are inside or else they'd be barking, too. So here's what I want to do. I want to talk about the life of a dad in today's society compared to your dad's life, you growing up, and the difference in mentality and expectation of a parent, of a father parent inside of a household compared to what it is now.
So I gotta turn this down a little bit. I can still hear myself.
Okay.
Me and my dad didn't have a great relationship growing up. I kind of knew him off and on. So I didn't really get that whole father-son relationship aspect, but I had positive male role models in my life. My great-grandfather, who I was super close with, my grandfather now, I call him Pawpaw, and my uncle. So I'm from Texas. We have that whole football is faith kind of thing. Sundays were church, KFC, football. They really pushed me to do better, and always wanted me to better myself. And their one big speech was, no matter what you do, two things: don't give up, and just when you think you've done good enough, do better. So I've tried to instill some of that in my kids. I give them that whole "don't give up, keep going" kind of speech. But with today's society, I try to be a little more lenient, and I'm not so tough love on them. But at the same time, I try to having daughters, it's a lot harder because you have to be really careful in how you navigate that. You want to be tough love, but you still want to be caring and understanding, and how do you balance the two?
Absolutely. So I grew up a lot like you then. So my biological dad was out of the picture. My stepdad came into the picture when I was like 5. We had a good relationship for a couple of years. It became turbulent as well. And so he's still there, but I also had an uncle as well that was actually a lot closer to my age. He's, less than 10 years older than me. And then, there was some other role models here and there too. Not that my stepdad was a bad role model. We also had a turbulent relationship. And so I grew up with a lot of that too. But I also grew up in a household that was very patriarchal, right? So I grew up in a household where like the dad gets the big piece of chicken, and nobody sits in dad's chair, and we do what mom and dad are saying, not what you have going on at school or whatever this time, and things like that. And I feel like the dynamic has changed in this last, let's say 30 years, or whatever, or 20, if we want to be, to when I was a teenager, we'll say 20 years, to where that's not how households can run anymore. And don't get me wrong, I am all for a equal matriarchal, patriarchal household where, everything is 50-50. But I also feel like the dynamic between what you want to do as a parent and what you want to do, what your things and whatever, always have to take a back seat to your kids, where that was definitely not the world we grew up in.
Yeah. For me, again, like I said, football was our big thing, right? So being from Texas, I was at practice, I was doing homework, and I was at football games. That was literally all I did. Little fun side note, I was supposed to actually be a preacher when I grew up. Sorry, Mom. But other than football or sports, I did what Mom wanted to do or Grandpa wanted to do that day. With my kids, I just try to repay the favor. I'm always there at their cheer stuff, their drill team, choir. Do I miss games and stuff? Yeah, of course. But I always try to put their needs first.
Right. So your kids are in a fair amount of activities, correct? Like they do sports and right? Does it feel like? Do you remember when we were growing up? It was like football season, and then it felt like 6 months maybe, and then like baseball came around in the summertime for a little bit, or what? You know what I mean? Like it felt like there was like these drastic breaks and things. Where like now, I have a daughter that is in basketball right now, in volleyball right now, in dance right now, and they're just now talking about softball stuff already.
Oh, jeez.
It's February 15th, and they're talking about softball practices starting up already. So, like, and I have a pretty, liberal's a weird word to use here, but I have a pretty forgiving, as far as, like, the court system is concerned, arrangement for my kids. Like, I have my kids every other weekend, and then I also have them Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I don't plan anything Sunday through Wednesday because it seems like I am taking them to practice, picking them up from practice, taking them to this place. You know what I mean? Like, I am a glorified taxi driver and wallet, and that's it. And I don't feel like our parents had it that way. I don't feel like our parents lived in that same world that we live in now. And so is that perpetuated by people like us that felt like if we would have started sports earlier, maybe we would have been pro or whatever? Is that where that's perpetuated from, or is it something else? Is it you know what I mean? I
kind of get what you're saying. Again, with football being our main thing in my family, if I wasn't doing football, I was doing off-season football. If I wasn't doing off-season, I was doing spring football. If I wasn't doing that, I was showing cows, doing rodeo. So I was always having something to go. I
didn't even consider that. Yeah, we got FFA and 4-H and all that too.
Right.
I didn't even throw that in the mix. But yeah, go ahead.
At 13, my mom had a child with another man. My stepsister, same mom, different dad, obviously. And I was kind of thrown into this perspective of help raise his kid.
Same with me. 13 years old, my sister was born.
Mm-hmm.
From my mom and my stepdad.
Yep.
We're like the same fucking guy. This is ridiculous.
So, my mom, we don't get along great now, but growing up, the one thing I can say about her is she made every football game, and she was always working. She worked 2 or 3 jobs at a time.
That's what I remember about my mom as well, yeah.
Right, so I was taking my little sister to daycare, then riding to football practice on my bike, going to school, getting off, getting my little sister, going back to football practice, and then going home, doing homework, feeding the kid, bath, shower, bed. And it was rinse, repeat.
So you bring up a good point, though, too, right? So that's what my childhood was as well, right? So my childhood was, if I had extracurriculars, I was usually trying to find a way to get myself there or whatever. I'd have to stay after school and walk 2 miles home or whatever it was. But I was doing it essentially on my own accord because my mom was working, and then eventually when my stepdad came in, my dad was working. Dylan Busby hopping in here. What's up, buddy? And so I grew up in that same kind of thing as well. So here's what I gather from that, though, too, right? So what do you have that people 10 years under you don't have right now that we learned from that era? Work ethic, right?
Work ethic and experience. I can tell you this right now. In high school, we all had to take home ec, or most of us did.
Oh, yeah.
And it was funny because the first time the teacher was trying to teach us about changing a baby's diaper, I walked right up, I did it in like 10 seconds, everybody looked at me like, how the hell did you know that? Like, I had a baby sister, I know exactly how to do this.
Yep.
So when my first daughter was born, it was like getting on a bicycle all over again.
I agree, 100%, yep.
So you talk about work ethic, I mean, again, it was football, it was raising a kid, rinse and repeat all the time, nonstop. And with Carter, my stepson. Now he doesn't really have to help with his baby sister as much, but he was in football. Then he did basketball. Now he's fixing to do baseball. He's wanting to do soccer. It's just a constant go.
Yeah.
But that work ethic isn't really there because they've got social media. They have somewhat of a, dare I say, easier lifestyle than we did growing up.
Yeah.
And everything is at your fingertips now. These things run our life.
Oh yeah, 100%. Dylan hopping in here. The sound is great. Is it repeating on your end, Dylan, or no?
It's repeating on my end. And
yeah, I know it's repeating, but I don't know that I can. No, because I can't. I've tried this already. Oh, but this will fix it. I don't know what it's going to do for everybody else, but let's just do it.
Great church.
I'll be able to hear you at least, and you'll be able to hear me. Is that better?
No.
What?
Wait.
It
yes.
should be.
Yep.
You should be hearing me from the same mic, but your audio should be off.
Yeah, I can just hear the mic rubbing up against your stomach now.
Well, I'm fat. It fucking happens.
Yes, it's a lot better though. There's no echo now.
Okay. So let me get into another aspect of this. We are fathers first. That's what we chose to do. We shot it out. We, whatever you want to call it, we made ourselves fathers, right? By our choices.
19 years old.
19 years old for me as well. So we are fathers first. We are caretakers for our spouse. We are stepdads. We are full-time employees. Where do you draw the line and give yourself time? Because mental health is not brought upon the forefront for males in the society at all. So we find our mental health through hobbies and doing stuff, whatever, time with our friends, whatever it is, So where do you draw the line? Where do you find that it fits in today's society compared to before?
For me, it's one of those things where I'm really blessed. I'm really lucky. I've got a girlfriend who's got a great job, and she's pretty much the breadwinner, right? So I help out around the house. I do what I can. As far as the kids go, they always come first, no matter what. Whether it's sports, school, what have you. Getting them to the grandparents' house, the list is endless, right? We all know that. We're dads. For me, my hobbies were always motorcycles, video games, going to the gun range, and now podcasting. So Tuesday nights, it's podcast night. I get off, I go watch a show with the old lady, and then we go to bed. On the weekends, we try to make it a date night about every other week or so. And we'll go to dinner, watch a movie, go to our favorite concert, what have you. But you have to set aside that time for yourself. And to answer your question, I mean, it's what are your hobbies? Motorcycles and podcasting and video games. And I try to set a couple hours aside a week to do that.
Absolutely. So I came from I've been in and out of a couple different relationships over, like, say, the 10 years since me and the kids' mom has split up, right? So I've been engaged once. I was in another long-term one that went a couple of years and nothing came of it. And so in that time, I have been 2 or 3 jobs all the time to to eat up that time. I would do my 9-to-5 job or whatever. I was an electrician for a long time. And then I would bartend. Aside from that, I would bartend 4 or 5 nights a week to make up for some of that money too that was going out in child support and whatever. And then I would do other, I don't remember a time up until now that I didn't work 2 or 3 jobs up until like the last 2 years, right? And so now I find myself with some time that's not scheduled from practices and whatever, but it's a fine line between being a good dad and being there for your partner and everything, to having time for yourself and like mental, you know what I mean, like to make yourself cool mentally and to where you're not putting others out because of yourself or whatever. And it's not the easiest thing in the world. It's super, super hard to do, in my opinion, in today's society, to set that time aside for yourself and not feel selfish doing it and not put yourself before others or whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Right. I'm kind of selfish though, so.
and I don't get me wrong, I tend to be as well. I have these 2 podcasts every other week. I just picked up this new hobby of leatherworking that I'm trying to get into. But at the same time, I also find myself going, well, instead of doing this, I could be spending time with, Tasha, Tasha's my girlfriend. I could be spending time with Tasha, throwing darts or whatever. At least it's us time. It's just me and her, whatever, Like before the podcast, I shot darts for about 2 hours or so with Tasha, just because I know these 2 hours are here. I know I could have prepped better, or I could have done this. You could do a million things in that time, but I felt like that time was better suited to spend time with each other or whatever. And so, but it's such a razor thin line that you have to, as a dad in this society anymore. It's such a razor thin line that you have to walk. It's hard. It's hard to not lose yourself trying to appease everybody else and try to be everywhere. And I think that sometimes that part of that narrative of being a parent or being a father or whatever it be kind of gets like tossed aside and not talked about enough. And so I just wanted to bring it up as a topic, and I wanted to talk about it openly and whatever, and kind of go from there. So,
yeah, to be corny, I saw something on TikTok the other day, and I think it's from this show Suits, if I'm not mistaken. If anybody remembers that TV show.
Oh yeah, I definitely. My favorite joke is from that show.
I don't know if it was Suits or if it was something else, but the guy basically says in the quote that you're born alone, you die alone. So this is my life. I'm going to live it my way. Now, obviously, as dads, we can't put ourselves first because, I'm sorry, in my opinion, when you have a child, when you make that decision, because it's a decision, that child comes first before anything.
Absolutely.
And, between having a kid, having a full-time job, your responsibilities at home, you still have to find time for yourself. You have to make time to unwind. I mean, I work 30 minutes from home, and as we all know, I got a new truck, but even in my old truck, that 30 minutes, I'd get in and blare the White Snake and what other white trash music I can find and just unwind.
Yeah, absolutely. The drive home is the best drive of the day.
Oh, yeah. Of course, it's not really 30 minutes for me. It's more like 15 because I drive with a lead foot. But
well, all of us do a little bit. So, how do I want to say this? When you find yourself having to make a decision based on what you're doing at the time, that's your thing, and something else, what is your determining factor as far as if you're going to blow something off that's for yourself opposed to something else? Is your kids the end all be all on that, or is it a necessity thing? Do you gauge that based on how much you're needed for that particular thing?
Here's the thing. I live in Texas. I eat a lot of Mexican food, so it depends on how long is it going to take for me to go to the bathroom first.
Okay.
No, I'm kidding. Like I said, our kids come first. That's the rule in our house. If they've got something going on, we go. Now, again, have I missed a game or two? Have I missed a choir performance? Yeah, absolutely, I have. I'm not going to sit here and say I haven't because I'd be lying. But they come first, so if they've got a game or something, we're going.
Yep.
It really, I kind of try to pinpoint it. How important is it to them that I'm there? And is this something that they're going to remember if I don't show up?
Okay.
Because, like I said, at the beginning you asked about my dad and stuff. We had an on again, off again relationship. Dad was a drunk. I could go tell stories and story for hours. But he was at 2 football games, I think, in my entire life, and 1 rodeo event. And I remember every time looking up the crowd and not seeing my dad there, I kind of took that to heart.
Yeah.
So I asked myself,
okay.
How is my kid going to feel if I'm not there? Is it going to affect him?
I bet you were the best fucking rodeo clown ever.
It was a bull rider, sir. Thank you very much.
No, I totally get it. I know 100% what you're saying. My biological dad did not make it to a single thing all the way through high school. Didn't make it to my graduation. Didn't make it to anything, right? And that's I suppose a certain amount of that could be put on me, but I really don't think so. I think no matter what your child says, yes or no or whatever, I think you make the effort no matter what.
Right.
But that all being said, I get what you're saying as far as what they're going to remember, what they're not going to remember. And when you have 45 basketball games over a season, is missing one really going to be that important? Probably not, but missing the one dance recital that happens once a year, whatever, that'll probably be, something. And so I try to do what you do too. I try to make everything I possibly can. And the only time that's ever, work tends to be a bigger footprint than I think that it should be sometimes, right? I think that sometimes people say family business, but they only mean their family. They don't mean your family. When you work for a company or whatever.
Right.
We're a family business. I mean, you're making our family more money, but your family doesn't matter. I think that's sometimes how some of that works. And so you have to obviously, navigate that too. Am I going to lose my job if I say no and go to this instead or whatever? But I don't know. I feel like what I'm getting at this whole thing is I feel like the dynamic has changed almost drastically and on the other end of things. I feel like we went from our parents really not caring and not really wanting, needing to go to stuff, and they didn't have to show up at this and they didn't have to go to that, and to where now, and I don't know necessarily why that is, and I don't think that it's necessarily just where I live, but like if you don't show up to something, then people are asking questions and like this and that and whatever, and you're not necessarily looked at as like being this great dad if you're missing it, because of work or because of whatever. And I think that that's wrong. I feel like there needs to be some give and take there that people don't ever give it.
Well, I've got a couple different points. I don't know if this is really going to tie into what you're talking about, but to kind of get sentimental for just a minute, I talk about my great-grandfather all the time on the show, and he basically was my dad growing up. Matter of fact, that's what I called him most of the time, was dad, which was kind of weird because it was my mom's grandfather, my great-grandfather.
Yeah.
But he lived in Rockwall, and we lived in Grapevine in Boyd, Texas, which is roughly about an hour drive. That man would drive every single Saturday to my games, pick me up, take me back home, and then drive me right back on Sundays. So he was driving 4 or 5 hours on the weekends. And I can remember football games where we lost a championship game, or we lost a playoff game, or we lost a big rival game. I would be on the ground just crying my eyes out and look down and just see his shoes. He was an old man, so he had them old man shoes, and you knew exactly who it was when you looked over. And having that feeling of somebody there to, not necessarily coddle you, but let you know it's going to be okay. And remember how important that was. And then when he passed away, I was 16, 17 years old. And we lost our first run at a state title game in high school. And I was devastated because this was like the end all be all for me, right? I mean, you're a teenager, it's Texas football, and it was everything to us. And I was just bawling my eyes out, and I look over and Granddad's not there. Yeah. And it hit me at a different level. It really did. And I think I decided right then and there that if I ever become a dad, I don't want my kids feeling like this.
Okay. And I get what you're saying for sure.
So that was kind of a real big hit to me, and that's kind of where a lot of my motivation for being a dad is. And the whole dynamic as parents, as society, obviously has changed. And of course, again, I hate these things. I hate them because I feel like they've really ruined society. The kids, I mean, you look at, you'll be in a grocery store, you'll look over, you'll see a 4-year-old with a phone in their hand, and they know how to work it better than the parents do. We didn't have that as a kid. We had Game Boys and Pokemon and trading cards.
Then, it took up so much less of our time, and then
right.
But we're just as guilty as adults now too, I know I'm terrible about my phone. My job requires a phone too, so we're on it. It's a bad thing. It's not a good thing.
It really is. And the point I'm trying to make is when we were growing up, we didn't have all the distractions as far as our phones go. And with social media, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, everything else, let's say you've got one family where the dad's never there or the mom's never there. That gets posted all over social media. Did you see little Jimmy's mom wasn't at the game last week again for the 3rd week in a row, or little Jimmy's dad wasn't there for the 4th week in a row? And it paints a bad picture, because what if that dad or that mom is a single parent and they've got to work 2 jobs just to keep food on the table for their kid? But we're all judging because you see the kid sad. Yeah. You don't know their story, so why are you judging them?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I definitely think that happens a lot more than... I feel like the case, and maybe not everywhere for sure, but I also feel like the case is sometimes more that parent is busy with something else than being a deadbeat parent. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like there is a million instances where there is a deadbeat parent, and that's why they're not there. But I feel like there's a lot more instances where that parent is working, or that whatever, that parent's working their second shift at their 3rd job to make sure that they can afford their apartment for them and their kids and pay child support or whatever else. That's definitely not talked about, not stuff in the forefront enough. It's always about, oh gosh, I don't want to say that. Okay, it's always about the single parent that has custody and how much that they have to do and how much they have to sacrifice. And it's not about the other side of that flip of that coin,
There's 2 sides to every story.
Yep. But that's not how it's presented. But is that not Facebook? Is that not TikTok? Is that not Instagram? You see one side of things, and you only see that one side of things. You don't see the other side.
Exactly.
So. Well, hey, I tell you what, I don't want to eat up a bunch of your time. I really appreciate you being on. I've got 2 more beers to run through. I really appreciate you being on here. As my hey, you actually my first official guest on the show. I appreciate that. Ooh, yeah, right? Give you a chub. I appreciate it, buddy. And thanks for getting in this super in-depth talk about this. I knew that we kind of had a lot of similarities, and so I wanted to kind of, present that to you as well. And it's something that I struggle with on a daily basis, and so I feel like I'm not the only one, and I wanted to kind of bring that up or whatever. So
absolutely, man. Thanks for having me.
Hey, I appreciate it, buddy. Let's give it up one more time for Whiskey. Thanks for hopping in here. Later, buddy.
Later, man.
And we're back. What's going on, everybody? Let me start this back up again. I shut off TikTok because TikTok was not going to be able to hear what I was saying. And so we're going to do the rest of the audio like this, and then we'll go from there. Somebody hopped in here. Yeah, absolutely, man. You're welcome. That was awesome having Whiskey on the show. I am definitely meaning to bring more people on to the show, and that's definitely going to happen. I have some people lined up. However, I want to do it when I have full control of this audio and stuff, and that is coming. That's not done yet. We have been kind of going back and forth on what to order and what board we want and that kind of thing that makes this solo podcast the best that it could be, as well as our multiple podcasts. And then we can bring in guests to the studio, my garage, the Horny Gnome bar here, and also bring in guests to remotely and provide the best possible back and forth. So that's kind of what we're talking about right now. Let's get into the second beer, since we went super long on that topic. This second beer we're going to talk about tonight is Founder's Blushing Monk. Okay, so this is a whopper. This Blushing Monk is a 9.2% 20 IBU raspberry ale is what it comes down to. So it's a TJ. Hey, thanks, Whiskey, for hopping on the show. I really appreciate it. So this is the next one we're talking about, Blushing Monk. So this is a beer that was originally based on their Rubius raspberry ale, and then they decided, no, let's kick it up a notch, and they added 4 times the amount of raspberry in this beer. So they took a raspberry ale and made it like an ultra raspberry ale, and then turned it into an imperial style ale in the ways of it, because of all the sugar. So it's a 9.2%. Let's take a look at it. So it definitely looks like cloudy cranberry juice is the way I would definitely say it, I guess. It's cloudy cranberry juice. But obviously it's raspberries. Now, I'm gonna premise this by saying I'm not a huge raspberry fan. They're not around here a lot. You have to buy them in the supermarket. I usually don't use them for anything. I suppose I buy them and make smoothies with frozen fruit or whatever, and that's probably what I use it for the most. But it's not a big deal for me. But this smells delicious. So it does smell like raspberries. It smells a little bit like cranberry juice too. But I'm guessing that's just kind of that catalyst, like that, not the catalyst. The vessel. That vessel is probably like that cranberry juice, raspberry juice kind of vibe. And they smell similar. All right, here we go. That tastes like carbonated raspberry juice, and it's delightful. So it doesn't taste as much like wine as I would expect. I was expecting it, to be very dry on the back end, and it is. It has that grapey raspberry, that berry dryness that you get on the roof of your mouth when your tongue, I don't know how you want to say it, the taste buds in your tongue pop up or whatever, and you get that dry kind of. There's a little bit of that, but it's not severe. And the fact that it has this carbonated vessel that it kind of comes through really makes it smooth and crisp. Really, really delightful. I really enjoy this. So, this being said, this is Blushing Monk. There is another version of this called. Oh. It is also called Monk. I'm trying to think of what it's called. But there is a barrel-aged version of this. Maybe it's called Blushing Padre. I think that's what it's called. I think it's called Blushing Padre. And it is this Blushing Monk, and then they barrel age it in tequila barrels. I've had that before, and that is outstanding as well. So let's talk a little bit about Founders and what I found out, and then we'll kind of go from there. Also, this is a 3.94 score on Untappd, so almost a solid 4 on Untappd. This is delightful. This Blushing Monk is super, super tasty. So the Founders Brewery was founded in 1997 in Grand Rapids, Michigan. They kind of had a good start, and then it started slowing down. 2001, they sold their filter, and then started brewed for us style beer. So they tried to start making unique stuff that they themselves wanted to drink exclusively, and then they found people that liked to drink that style. So they started doing different stuff and popping off here and there. So in 2003, as they started finding their own flavor as in their own thing, they were at the forefront of barrel aging beers. So they were one of the first breweries to really start pushing that, especially in their area. And so they were kind of at the forefront of that barrel aged beer situation. And then in 2004, their product KBS was rated second best beer in the world from Beer Advocate, which is like another. Thanks, the board's beard on point. What's up? I appreciate that. The Beer Advocate is another app or another website, kind of like Untappd, and they deemed that the second best beer in the world. And then from there, 2007, they move into a bigger facility. 2013, they expand. 2014, they pair up with Mano San Miguel, which is a distributor, I believe. And so they're partnered up with them, and they distribute. They're a Mexican or Hispanic ownership, and they distribute their stuff worldwide. And then throughout the rest of the United States. 2015, they expand again. 2017, they open up their second tap room in Detroit, and they just keep going. Founders has been awesome. I've been encouraged and lifted up by these beers. I've had probably a dozen different Founders beers. They are distributed locally, and so I have been nothing but pleased with Founders. They have an all-day IPA. It's a session IPA that is actually really delightful, really crushable. I think it's 4.5%. They've done some really, really nice stouts that are great. Dirty Bastard is one. They have another one called Backwoods Bastard that's really good as well. KBS, like they mentioned, is delightful. And a couple of others. So don't think this is the last time you're going to see something from Founders on this podcast. I've reviewed a couple over on TikTok. If you want to go back and look at my old videos on TikTok, that's at Horny Gnome Bar, spelled HZRNEE Gnome Bar, all one word. If you want to go back, I have some Founders that I've been lucky enough to try and review over there. So it's been pretty awesome. Let's keep drinking this beer, and we'll talk about the last kind of thing, and then we'll get into the last beer. So, along with trying to make this my thing, trying to make this podcast my thing, I wanted to bring a little bit more of myself into this. So, I'm a movie buff. I'm a bit of a nerd, and I'm kind of a loose cannon about what I like and what I don't like, and stuff like that. Like I love music. Music is a huge part of my life. I played in a band back in the day. I don't play anymore, but I still really appreciate music, and I love all kinds of music. I don't like just one kind of music. So I wanted to do a movie album TV pick per podcast on what I've watched recently and what I enjoyed and what I liked. And you can start watching what I like, and if you like it, then you'll kind of know, hey, what's on the up and up. If you don't like it, you can just fucking throw it away. I don't really care. This is kind of what I like. This is based on my stuff. DJ Bridwell in the house. What's up? If you guys haven't checked out DJ Bridwell for music, go check that motherfucker out. He just put out a new single not that long ago. Awesome guy, great friend. I appreciate Loose Cannon. That's right. DJ Bridwell is amazing. Go check him out. DJ Bridwell music, it's BRIDWELL Bridwell. Go check him out. Great stuff. And coming to a town near you, I can guarantee it. At least in the greater Nebraska, Kansas, Oklahoma area. Going from there, let's talk about my movie pick for the week. So my movie pick for the week is The Tomorrow War. It is an Amazon original. It's starring Chris Pratt from Star-Lord, Guardians of the Yvonne Strahovski. Yvonne Strahovski is the barn burner, smoking hot blonde from the TV show Chuck. She's on that. She plays a doctor, like leader of a revolt, and then kind of thing. And then J.K. Simmons. J.K. Simmons is best known for he's the dad on Hot Rod. His best friend is Hot Rod's brother, or not Hot Rod. Yeah, right. No, not Hot Rod. I Love You Man. His best friend, or his son, is the guy that plays Hot Rod. That's what I was thinking of. He's the dad in I Love You Man. He is the relentless music teacher in Whiplash, which is a great movie if you like dramatic stuff. Whiplash is a great movie. Go check that one out as well. He's in a billion different things, so I'm not going to go down. He's won all kinds of awards. Great dude. Anyhow, let me get into the premise of this. So, in the middle of a big soccer match, all these people appear out of nowhere. They say that they're from 30 years in the future, and that there is a war for the planet going on against an alien race, and they need to recruit people from this timeline to go fight the aliens in their timeline. It pretty much comes down to a draft, and in that draft, Chris Pratt is a science teacher that gets put into a science group of people that need to go and help in the war against this alien race that is taking over the world and just devastating the world. It is very, very action-packed. It is relentless about action from like the get. Like it has a little bit of a slow start, and then as soon as it gets into it gets into it hard. There's a couple of people in there that are for comic relief that are outstanding. It does a really good job of presenting like PTSD is a very real thing, and how it affects people, and it also kind of opens up a weird thing in your head as far as like time travel is concerned, and like dealing with your own mortality and that kind of thing. Great movie, fantastic. It's free on Amazon Prime. Go and check that one out. So, that being said, let's get into the next one. My album pick for the week is not from the 2020s, not from the 2010s. It is not from the 90s. It is not from the 80s. It is from the 70s. My album pick of the week is this bad boy right here, No Blood by Blood, Sweat, and Tears. This is their 4th studio album. This is a jam. So, Blood, Sweat, and Tears had, coming into this fourth album, had a little bit of shakeup in their lineup and stuff like that, and put out a mixture album that had a little bit leaning hard on the rock side and a little bit leaning hard on the jazz side. But where this really, really develops and where it really pushes through is like this jazz fusion into things where both the rock and the jazz come together and make just an outstanding track. So this opens up with a Bob Dylan hit, Down in the Flood, and this also spawned a number 44 chart topper called So Long Dixie, and it's just a great album. It's a real good, feel-good, kind of bebop-y album that kind of goes back and forth, has a couple of ballads in there, but it's just outstanding. I've gotten into like a revival kick. I really like kind of highlighting old music and going through some old music and listening to the whole album, both sides, and really trying to like pick out what I like and what I don't like and stuff, more so than I like listening to the newer stuff. And so that is where I land on this. If I come home and I need like a mood changer album, this Blood, Sweat, and Tears album lately has been it. I'll throw it on. That first one kicks up, and it's a banger right off the get-go. And then I'm just in a good mood. I'm just relaxing. I'm just kind of going, ebbing and flowing with the music. I really, really enjoy this album. It's on Amazon. It's on Spotify. It's on all those. Go out, download that album, listen to it, tell me what you think. I'd like to hear your feedback on it. That being said, we're going to get into TV. And this is where I'm going to lose some of you. I know it is. So I was a fan of the show How I Met Your Mother. I know it's dumb. I know it's corny. I don't care. I enjoyed it. I liked Neil Patrick Harris's character. I thought he was hilarious. And I liked the back and forth. I loved... there was like a presence of like the true love in Marshall and Lily, and like the trials and tribulations of even in a perfect relationship, you know, there's problems or whatever. I like that going back and forth. Jaden, what's up, man? And so I enjoyed that show and that dynamic and how those people work together. They decided to do a reboot of that show where they swap the gender roles. So they have a show now that's called How I Met Your Father that's out. It's on its 4th episode, I think, is coming out. And they pretty much went through and gender swapped, I'm going to say half of the roles, right? So they went through the main character. Instead of being Ted Mosby, which is a male character, it is Hilary Duff's character. I can't think of the name of it. Hilary Duff is a smoke show. If anybody grew up on Disney, this is just all of your fantasies being laid out in front of you as far as Hilary Duff grown up, just looking like a whole snack. Episode in and episode out. She's got a hot best friend that's kind of a little bit of a player, kind of a whatever. That, I think, takes the place of the Ted Mosby, or the Neil Patrick Harris character. And then they have love interests hopping in and hopping out. One of the friends in that group owns a bar that they go to all the time, so that bar thing is present as well. I think they did a good job of playing some homage and stuff like that to the original show. Like, one of the people lives in Ted Mosby and Marshall's old apartment, and the swords are still there and everything. I think that's kind of cool, but they don't focus on it a lot. They don't like... It's not like everything is a callback, which I really appreciate. Like, they make it its own. It definitely is a gender swap thing. A lot of things are gender swaps. And so it does lean a little bit more on the girl side of things here and there. But overall, I think it's a good show. It's worth watching. Check it out. If you hate it, let me know you hate it, and I'll be okay with that. It's not gonna hurt my feelings any. So that's the end of that segment. I'm just going to do like a movie, album, TV pick for a couple of episodes. If you guys enjoy that, if you guys like listening to that, if you guys have an opinion on that, chime in. Let me know what you think. You can DM me on all of my social medias and stuff like that. I'd appreciate it. If you like that segment, if you don't like that segment, I can get rid of it. It's not that big of a deal. So I was going to lead into this after this third beer. I was going to talk to TJ Whiskey that hopped in here, but I think I'm going to push off. I'm going to wait a little while. We already talked to him. I'm going to drink a couple more of these drinks, and then I'm going to get into this last beer. Actually, it's about... You know what? I might save this last beer for the next episode. We're over an hour already, so let's talk a little bit, and then I'm going to close this episode out with this beer, and we're only going to do 2 beers. I know it's a little bit different. I know that's not my normal format, but we've been doing a lot of talking this episode, and so that's where I'm going to go with it. So, first and foremost, I want to thank PartyCast Network, because PartyCast Network is a great group of guys, a great group of podcasts that I'm happy to be part of, and day in and day out, we help each other and grow each other, and I think it's been amazing being part of this PartyCast Network. I really am thankful and grateful to be part of an amazing group of guys that puts some of the best podcasts, in my opinion, on the net that are live out there, and I count myself blessed to be part of that. I also want to thank my wonderful girlfriend that puts up with me being out here every other week and going through all this. There's been some awesome guys that have gotten me to this point and helped encourage me to start this podcast. And those guys know who they are. Fancy Francis, Dylan Moran, etc., etc. Rapid Dave and Alan obviously are part of that as well as the Another Reason to Drink guys, Bobby, Billy, Drunk Rick. That was the first podcast that let me be part of their group and let me hop in and be part of their podcast. And it's just kind of gone from there, and I really appreciate that. If you want to be a part of this podcast and you want to be a guest, I have no problem with that. You message me, you DM me, you tell me what you want to talk about, and we'll bring you on for a topic. I think that's what I'm going to start doing. I'm going to pick a topic, I'm going to bring somebody in, and they're going to talk for 15, 20 minutes about that topic. Instead of me bringing in somebody and interviewing somebody, I think there's a place for that. I don't know that this podcast is the right format for that. And so there might be a little bit of that here and there, but what I really, really want is I really want to bring in people that want to talk on a particular subject. Like, hey, let's talk about this, and then they can come in and they can talk about what they want to talk about. I'll talk about what I want to talk about, and we'll kind of go back and forth. I think that is going to produce content that people want to see. And so I think that's kind of what I'm going to stick with for right now, and we'll kind of go from there. I've got some guys that have been doing some big things, especially on TikTok and stuff that I want to talk to, and I have been indecisive whether I want them on this podcast or my other podcast. One obviously has a little bit more popularity than the other, and maybe I'll try to do a little bit of both. But I think my best idea and my best format is to bring in somebody once an episode on a certain topic, and they can talk on that certain topic, and then we can go from there. If you guys don't like that or whatever, like, chime in, let me know what you guys think. I'm kind of down for whatever. You know, we brought in whiskey today, and we talked about how do I want to say this? We talked about being a dad in this day and age, and how being a parent now and being a father figure now compared to how it was 20 years ago or whatever is kind of a night and day difference, and how hard everything is now, and how present you have to be, and how much you have to put yourself and what your needs and wants are aside for your child. It seems like a lot more now than before. And I really appreciate TJ for hopping on here and joining me as my guest for this. I thought that was tremendous. I appreciate that guy. And if you guys want to see more of TJ is on a podcast called Just Be a Dad Podcast. It airs every Tuesday night at 8:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. And it is TJ and Dylan Busby, comedian and opinionated guy, and then Nate, the one, the only token black guy on that podcast, as well as Cam Newton lover. If you guys want to catch more of that and their opinions on things and everything dad based, and they do movie reviews and they do some other stuff too, talk about a little bit about everything, go check them out. Just Be a Dad Podcast. Also part of the PartyCast network. Yes, absolutely. So I'm going to finish this beer. I think it's tremendous. I'm going to keep cranking on it. I appreciate all you guys for stopping in and lending your ear on this podcast. I know we've kind of been a little bit up and down, but I'm really trying to find my legs here as far as the solo podcast is concerned. So if you guys have any input at all, I would love to hear what you have to say. You can reach me at Horny Gnome Booze Cruise Podcast on Facebook. You can reach me at Horny Gnome Booze Cruise Podcast on YouTube as well. You can DM me on TikTok, Horny Gnome Bar, H0RNEE Gnome Bar, all one word, and Horny Gnome Bar on Twitch, all one word, spelled correctly, H-O-R-N-Y. I spell my TikTok one way more, and I didn't realize that I can't spell that one out loud. H-O-R-N-Y, Gnome Bar, all one word. Oh my gosh, that took a while to get out there. Well, I've been the Horny Gnome. This is the Horny Gnome Bar. And we'll see you next time. Remember to tune in Thursday, 9:30 p.m. Central Standard Time for my other podcast, Unlikely Role Models, with my buddy Kyle, just Kyle, as we talk about crazy news facts, crazy state laws, what's going on in the Super Bowl. We'll talk about a little bit this week. We'll review a couple of beers, and we'll just talk about shenanigans. We'll talk about crazy stuff going on, and I'd really like to see you there. Remember, if you hop into any of my social medias, say hi. I like when you guys say hi. Hop in my DMs, say what's up. I appreciate it. Thank you, everybody. I'm going to end on Twitch. If you guys want to catch my after show is exclusively right now over on TikTok. If you hop over on TikTok, I'm on there for another 20 minutes or so, give or take. I'll talk to you guys later. Have a great night. Peace.